I just think you should always trust your gut. I'm surprised I haven't said this earlier in the podcast, because I feel like I say it at least a couple times a week to my friends, to whoever. Like, I just think whatever you want to do, if it feels authentic to yourself, because I think often your brain can be a bit too logical and your heart runs on emotion. So the thing you should really trust is your gut feeling. You know, it's even down to like, you know, sometimes like if you meet a new person and you get some feeling in your gut where you're like, yeah, I'm not really quite vibing with this person. Trust that, because chances are down the line they'll show their hand. And I think that same thing goes for like career paths or just following your interests. Like if you're interested in something, it feels right. When you do it, you feel really, really good about it. Just like explore whatever options there are in that.
But yes, hello everyone. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're looking after yourselves. Welcome to another episode of The Student Guide. It has been a great journey in season 7 to, I pray this is, if I've got this wrong and it's actually season 8. I don't think it is, but let's see. But yeah, it's been a great journey so far. We're on another amazing episode and we have another amazing guest speaker. As you know, I don't like doing introductions. I think it's best for us to hear from these cool and incredible people directly from them. So I'm going to hand over to today's guest speaker. Chinwe, could we know a bit more about you and what you do?
Yes, so I'm Chinwe, who's trying to remember what she said on her speaker page. 25-year-old from Southeast London. I am, my job role, which I don't think always has to like speak to who you are as a person. I think it's actually a very small part of who you are, but I guess it's going to be a focus of this conversation. So my job role, I work at a creative agency as a partnerships executive. And I always say, like, in a nutshell, my job, partnerships, the way that we do it at the place I work at is very specific because of the client that we work with, which is the North Face. But I always say that my job role is about, like, I don't know, connecting brands of like cool people, cool initiatives, people doing cool stuff, whether that's like in music or fashion or art. A lot of cool things. Okay. So I love my job because it's all about kind of leveraging my cultural knowledge and things that I'm already super interested in. Which I guess is also something which is a valid point to talk about, which is I love music. I always say music is as important as like water or breathing to me. Like I just don't really know where I would be without it. It's been like a massive part of growing up and having like lots of different musical influences around me. It's a massive part of just like my life on the weekends and just like going to work and listening to music. I think it brings people together. It's super important. I also DJ a little bit. Taught myself in 2023. Had my first gig a couple weeks ago.
Congratulations.
It was the most random thing, but it was great. It was so much fun. So it's something I want to take a little bit more seriously. Hopefully be able to like make some money from it, but also just like, I love making people smile and dance. So like that's kind of, I feel like that's more of my purpose in life. What else is there? My background's in, like my educational background is in psychology. And I think even though it's not something I've taken to like my career, it is still like a massive interest of mine. I find people really, really fascinating. I find human behavior really, really fascinating, and mental health is incredibly important to me. And I think that's something that's definitely grown through the course that I did at uni. I think that's pretty much it in a nutshell, top line of who I am. Yeah,
that's wonderful. You said you were worried about that was an amazing intro.
Oh, thanks. I always say I'm a professional waffler.
It was great.
Good.
It emphasised everything about you. I was going to say, I do have a list of questions. I do also have a question for 44 words. But before we go into all of that, the gig. Let's talk about that. Because,
the gig?
Yes. You mentioned it was like a random encounter.
It was super random. And I think I've recently been hearing a lot about how a big part of DJing and getting gigs, it's less about your talent and more about who you know. And I think I'm in a really privileged position in the job that I do to get to speak to a lot of cool and creative, talented people. And one of those people, not necessarily through work, kind of just like, you know, when you meet people out and you just click and you become great friends. And I've become pretty good friends with the person that manages this all women's kind of like rave collective called Sexy Lady Massive. And we've kind of just like met a few times. Like I'm friends with her and a couple of other friends from the group. And we were at Pirate, which is kind of like a 24-hour like recording studio. You can hire booths and stuff like that. It must have been like 12 a.m. and we were all just mixing after this event that we'd been to. And she was kind of curating the lineup in room 2 for Venue MOT, which is like it's like my favorite venue. It's in Bermondsey, which is kind of the major honor because I've been there so many times as just like a party goer. So to be able to actually open in room 2 was crazy. And it was for, well, I mean, we all know Nia Archives, and she recently released Get Loose with Cheetah. And so they were throwing this block party, and then the after party was going to be at Venue MOT. And they were Sexy Lady Massive was supposed to have a competition for like a beginner DJ to open the first 30 minutes. And she was just kind of like, you know what, sod that. I don't want to do that. That's long. You're great. We like you. So, you know, do it. And there was a lot of hesitation at first because I feel like I often like approach things very carefully. I think a lot of that comes from like, when you've been someone that's always been quite good at school, you don't want to do anything unless it's going to be perfect. And I feel like I've always doubted myself a lot when it comes to mixing, like technically. Like I know that my ear has always been on point. Like there's a couple of things I'm 100% sure about. My music selection it's phenomenal. If you guys ever come and see me. But I think I've always really doubted myself technically and like, you know, am I good enough to mix and da-da-da. And so for someone that barely really knows me and we've only kind of just become like friends recently, to see that in me, I think meant quite a lot. And so, yeah, just kind of, I guess, took the challenge on. My USB was completely screwed. I had just started like deleting songs from it. So I was kind of a bit like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to be ready on time. But you know what? I have to say yes, because when people give you opportunities like that, like Nia Archives, huge name, someone I've like respected and admired for years, favorite venue, great like collective to be opening for. I was like, I can't say no. And it went really, really well. It went really, really well. There were a couple mistakes, but you know what? After that night, I realized that like, there's so much purpose in just throwing yourself into things, even if it's not going to be perfect. Because you're going to learn from those mistakes and the next time you won't make them. And I think that's what I learned from that night. That as well as like, that was so much fun. Like, I can't describe the feeling of like playing to people and them just enjoying your selections. Like, it means so much. So yeah, it was a great gig and I've just got the bug to do it again. I may or may not be performing somewhere soon. I won't speak on it because nothing's confirmed. But yeah, off the back of that, like it's just having more opportunities. I think that's how it's probably going to end up being. The more I put myself out there, the more the universe is going to like, you know, give me something for that.
100%. Yeah. But essentially, like we said, like I think a lot of people forget that, like you said, like sometimes just putting yourself out there and like trying for like new opportunities, whether it's DJing, even if it's like you said, like I don't know, if there's like a comedy night, you might be like, oh, I don't know if I want to do stand-up comedy, but like
funny.
Exactly. But like going out for these things or trying it, and I think like one thing like we emphasize through this podcast, but I'd say through all the stuff we do for that night, like the importance of like authenticity, and it's literally like what you said, because you were authentically yourself. That's what led to like, scrap the competition. Like, we're just going to give it to you.
We just like you.
And it's just like, you know, people will like you for you. And it's sometimes, it might not feel like that all the time, but sometimes you just have to find like people that you click with. And then, you never know. Like, you could end up doing a gig.
Again, who knows?
Yeah, who knows? But yeah, we're going to go on to the next segment, which is 44 questions, which we have a question for you provided by the founder of 44 Words. And this question is a two-parter. I think this might be the first two-parter we've ever had for this question.
Yikes.
So I'll ask the first one, which is, what's your vision for the future of the creative community?
Ooh, I might need a couple of seconds to think about this one. Future of the creative community. I think more, God, this sounds a bit ridiculous, but more community. I went to this workshop, probably maybe in 2023 now, and it was the two, I don't know if you know the Silhouettes Project, but there were the two founders of the Silhouettes Project who are basically kind of this initiative that essentially give super professional like music production creation services and stuff to people who might not have access to them, but they also produce albums with a bunch of like really, really cool underground artists. And the two founders had this like workshop. It was somewhere in like Hackney or I don't know, somewhere east and gentrified like that. And no, but they were great. It was a great workshop. And they were speaking a lot about the power of community and of building like, I guess, little families within. So whether it's based around music or, you know, art or whatever it is that you are into, and fostering like real friendships and kind of relying on one another. And kind of like, I always say this, I've been talking about this a lot recently, but like networking on your level, I think has so much power. I don't think we always need to strive to like have meetings with the head of da-da-da-da-da. I think sometimes just like looking at the people next to you who are like working their way up with you and building communities through that. So I don't know if more community is the exact way, but I think kind of just more collectiveness, helping each other out, leaning on one another and doing it through like friendship, you know, and actually building kind of authentic relationships. I think we need more of that. I think the creative community can sometimes has a rep that might be a bit accurate of like people who schmooze a lot and can be a bit inauthentic. And so maybe authenticity is the key. Authenticity and friendship, I think. And I think that will get you far because I think wherever you end up through that will probably be where you're supposed to be.
100%. I mean, I feel like you kind of answered the second part. The second part was what initiatives or changes would you like to see implemented and how do you envision... Actually, no, you haven't actually. Okay. So what changes or initiatives would you like to see implemented and how do you envision you yourself contributing to that vision? So you've mentioned that, you know, authenticity and friendship. Yeah. What initiatives would you like to see implemented to essentially cause more of that? And then how do you envision yourself contributing towards that?
Ooh. I mean, I feel like we need, we all say this, I think we need more third spaces. It's not really good enough that the only places we can kind of hang out together as these communities is, you know, event spaces where you need to buy a ticket or like pubs or, you know, you want to go and eat. Like I feel like whenever I organise something with my friends, it's always like, God, we've got to spend money. Unless it's summer, we're not really going to do picnics outside. So I think we need more spaces like that, but maybe a bit more attuned to creatives and allowing them to have space. Do you know what? Spaces like this, where like if you've got a really cool podcast idea, you should be able to have a space that's maybe very, very low cost where you can do that. Because right now I don't think we have enough of that. I don't know if I see myself contributing to that exactly. I think I'm really interested at, like, recently, maybe over the last couple of years, I'm really interested in potentially being able to throw my own event. And maybe that ends up being something where the ticket costs are super low or, you know, the lineup for the event is about platforming kind of underground artists. I don't know how I'm going to contribute to that, but I do know we need more spaces where we can kind of come together and come up with these ideas and connect. And I don't think we have enough of that.
100%. No, I definitely agree. I think it's like, especially like you said, like third spaces, it seems like, especially I think like being a creative, I would also say whether you're like a young person or you're looking to like go into business, it almost seems like you either go into a networking event, you go into a social,
and they're so cringe.
Like, I feel like that's one of the things that, like, I don't remember who I was talking, but someone I was talking to about it literally said, like, they don't like networking because they feel like, literally, like we said, like, sometimes it feels like doing a lot of schmoozing and you're just like, oh my days, like, you're, I don't know, the like, leader of this big company, like, oh my gosh, this and that. And it can feel a bit, like, awkward. But then also it can sometimes be the flip side. And I know, like, I've mentioned before, I've experienced this, I know other people who've experienced this, but you might, like, I don't know, go to try and talk to these people and then they'll just be like, I don't know, they don't have time for you. It's almost like, yeah, exactly. And I feel like we said, like, more networking on, like, your level is when you'll see, like, people, and, like, I've seen that myself, like, a lot of the people that help out with Pick Up the Mic, like, they do it because they like what we do. I help them for the same reason. But I think also, like you just said there, like, it is, like, a third space, and I think that's one of the things I'm trying to do more of. Is, funnily enough, a friend of the podcast, shout out Lise, if you see this. But she runs, it's rebranded, I won't say the name, she has told me, but she's doing a whole marketing plan for it, so I won't ruin it. But it's currently called the Quarter Life Hub, and she does this thing for like people in their 20s and 30s who like don't know what they want to do next, but want to have a space to like trial stuff and do new things.
I love that.
Yeah, she's done 2 events, absolutely amazing. She did a sip and paint, really fun. It was all about like just painting your like what you envision for your future. So it could be like a holiday or like you know, you're starting a business, maybe you're painting like your dream house.
Yeah.
And then she did a vision boarding session, which was really incredible.
I love that. That's cool. Manifestation.
Exactly. And like she's an amazing person. But it was funny. So last week, so I went to her birthday party and like had a good time, it was great. And then we were like talking about it afterwards, and she was just like, yeah, I wanted to like bring you along, one, because like I love what you do and like you've been really supportive. But she was also just like, I feel like we only like meet in a work setting. And I literally told her like, yeah, no, it feels like every time we're like calling about each other, it's like either I'm talking about pick up the mic, you're talking about your business, or like we're just talking about how we could work together. And it's never like, oh yeah, let's just like sit and hang out. And I was just saying like, it feels like that's something that's almost like gone. It's almost like, unless like, it just sometimes feels like you're very, like everyone's very much just like, I don't know, like maybe it's just like you want to grow your business because, I don't know, you want to be financially secure. So you're like, I need to just focus on that. But then it's almost like you're losing the personal touch and like the personal element, what comes with like friendships or like, even just like relationships in the sense of like whether platonic, romantic, like sometimes it can just all be lost in the sense of like business stuff. So I feel like you said, like third spaces where it's literally just like, just come and hang and chill.
And do you know what? Something may come of that, but then the only thing that might come of that is a great conversation, and if you're lucky, a great friendship. And I feel like that's because we can. I don't know. I don't want to blame social media because social media can actually also foster spaces for us to be very social. I know I've connected with lots of random people just because they've been like, I really like that song that you posted, and suddenly we're talking. So I'm not going to blame that, but I do feel like, I don't know, there are more people that are slightly more lonely nowadays. And maybe that is a lack of third spaces or whatever where you can meet these people. So yeah, I think it'd be really nice to have places where it's like, yeah, who knows, we might build a really cool business or we might just become friends.
No, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think one final thing before we go into the questions is I think kind of like you mentioned there, like almost, so one thing I'm trying to do more of is like, go to events by yourself. That's a whole thing, and like it could be a whole...
I want to start doing more of that as well. But it takes guts.
Honestly, it really does. The amount of like, I think the first, but also it's one of those things. So like, I started in 2023, and I went to this like anime event. They were doing a boat party, and I was like, cool, I like anime, like I'll go along. And it was one of the ones.
Anime boat party.
Yeah, honestly, like it's sick. Anime District. They are going to do one this year. I will be there with my team, so I hope to see some of you there.
I love that.
But yeah, no, it's like really cool. So the first time I'd never been before, and I rocked up, and I was like, cool. I don't know if I'm going to know anyone. And then it turns out like I knew someone that I was in Air Cadets, so someone that was in Air Cadets as well. He was there as well. I had no idea he was there, so it's a great conversation. And I met a lot of people from that event. But yeah, literally like we said, like it was stressful. Like I went to one a few weeks before, and I was just like, oh cool, like I don't know anyone here. And then I spoke to someone, we got chatting, and like we're still actually funnily enough in touch now. And like even he's got like a 0-hour contract role here, and like he only got that because like we kept in touch. And I said, oh, if you're looking for a job, like they're literally hiring at the moment. But yeah, literally, it's just one of those ones where literally I was just like, yeah, no, this is stressful. It's like being, and I'm not saying like me doing it now, I'm like an expert. No, like there are times when I'm just like, oh yeah, this is like super awkward. But I think one of the things that's helped is like, telling myself there's no expectation of anything to come from this. So shout out to Alida and her sister Dolara. So they're these two sisters that they run this app called Exhibit. So it's all about like exhibitions that take place across London, and they post whether it's like free ones or like paid ones, and then they do like these community trips. So I went to their
so you can like go together. Oh,
and it's literally almost like a school trip. So like everyone may know each other or they might not. But they'll bring a group of people to go to an exhibition.
People are doing some cool stuff.
Yeah, honestly, man, like this is why I love this stuff. Like, you learn so
people
much.
Are doing really cool stuff.
But literally with Exhibits, like I went on their community trip and I didn't know it. Like I knew the sisters that organised it, but I was just like, I probably won't know anyone else. And I think one of the things I liked about it was I literally came in, like spoke to people that I knew, which was the two sisters. And then afterwards I was just randomly like chatted to some people, and then I left and I was like, yeah, this was nice. And I was just like, I don't necessarily like need to get anyone on social media if I don't need to. I was like, I don't need to like, I don't know, feel like, oh my gosh, I need to get like, I don't know, so many connections for like
Yeah.
my business or whatever. I was literally just like, look, like I'm interested in, like, I'm supporting it. I love what they do.
Yeah.
I want to go to like this exhibit sounds interesting. I love to come along. So I was just like, sometimes it's just that. It's like being like, okay, so if I go to like, let's say the boat party, it's like, okay, cool. Like I don't need to tell myself I need to like meet like minimum of 3 people. I can just be like, yeah, man, I'll just see how it goes. Like I could go here, vibe with a few people.
Yeah.
I could go here, and it turns out like I'm not really enjoying it.
Yeah.
Only difficulty.
And then I'll just leave.
And that's perfectly fine. And I feel like it's just like, it's not having an expectation of like, you have to have that end result from it.
Yeah, I think that's the right way. Because then it doesn't come across as schmoozy and it comes across as authentic because you've just come there just for the experience.
100%.
With no expectations. Yeah, no, I hear that.
But yeah, I've also, timing-wise, this is going to be super funny because I've realised we have spent the first 20 minutes and I haven't even asked you the first question.
I told you I was a yapper.
Well, we're in the conversation, and this is why I love it. This is why I love doing this. But question number 1 is looking at essentially your story.
Okay.
So your journey, you've already mentioned it. You've mentioned it already. People will see it on your speaker page as well.
Yeah.
It weaves together fashion, you've got music, psychology, and branding. And I would like to ask you, what key moments have shaped how you define creativity today?
Oh, Jesus, that is really difficult. I don't know if I have a straight answer to that.
That's
what
okay.
Key moments? Do you know what? I think I've always been quite creative. I remember as a child, like, loving to draw. I think there was a part of my life where I really liked photography. Like, I did it for GCSE and I was like doing it outside of school and stuff as well. I've always known I had a really good eye for what looks good. But I'm not a musician in the sense that I don't make beats, I don't sing, I'm not an artist. You know, I'm not physically making things that people can be like, you're creative in the sense that you've created something. But I just know I thought creatively. So I think probably through the roles that I've done in the creative industry. So maybe like through the first creative job that I had was at CloudX, which used to be a record label, and I think now it's just kind of like an events company. And that was what did I do there? I was like a cultural partnerships assistant, which was a fancy way of saying brand partnerships. And realizing that there's like a lot of power in being in the background and kind of making things happen for other people that do create. And obviously that was all from a brand perspective, so it was all quite commercial. But I think that was the first time I was like, cool, so you can really like be quite creative in the way that you think. So whether that's knowing how to connect certain people, they'd be a great fit for this brand, they'd be a great fit for this event, like that is creative or creativity, but reimagined. It's not in the traditional sense that you're not actually creating something physical. So I can't say there was a key moment, but I just think after the first job I had in the creative industry, then going to work at a major label, and now where I am now is realizing that there's like a lot of power in the way that you think in the background, and you don't always necessarily need to be the one making it. So yeah, no key moment, just like combination of experiences.
But I really like that.
Yeah.
It's like, I feel like you said, like, sometimes people forget, like, the work that goes behind the scene for, like, either brands or artists. So, like you said, like, it's not just, I don't know, you've got to, like, Beyonce is not the only one. Is not the only reason why Beyonce is successful as she is today. I'm not even talking from like just family and friends. Like someone's figured out how to market her, how to style her. Someone like she's not managing her social media page, someone else is. But it's literally like we said. Like there's, I feel like sometimes people feel like they, like you said, like they can't be a creative because they're not necessarily creating something new. But it's also about this thinking that like creativity doesn't mean like you have to create something new. It can be like you support. Like the way you think is different to like just always doing things traditionally, which is really nice. I won't go into it today because I talk about it a lot, but I always recommend a book to read, which was given to me by a good friend Samuel of the podcast, is Rick Rubin's Creative Act, A Way of Being, which is all about, so do you know who
No, but I've heard of that book title before, and I think I should read it.
I would definitely recommend. He's a big, couldn't tell you the songs he's produced. Apparently, really big music producer. And he wrote this book all on like, so one reason I also do recommend it to people is I know some people don't like long chapters in books. Yeah. It has a lot of chapters, but all the chapters are like short.
Yeah.
But it's all about essentially like, the first chapter is all, everyone's a creative. And like, he basically was saying like, just by like, existing, you have your own unique perspective on things. So it breaks down like the creative journey of like, okay, so by just being a person who exists, you get influence. And he said like, for some people that might be like, whether that's, they say it's from God, that some people they might say it's from the universe, but he describes it as being like the source. And he says the source is basically what like, is your, like, you get inspiration from the source, and then through the source, your experiences, that's how you then, like, think about, like, how things are creative. So he said, like, sometimes, like he said, like, from his music background, he was talking about, like, sometimes I work with artists, and, like, you know, they worry about, like, pivoting to a new music style, or, like, they're figuring out how to, like, really, like, make this song pop and, like, make it really catchy. And he was saying sometimes it's literally just, like, he'll tell them, like, okay, go, like, perform on a, like if they're a musician, like play instruments, they might be like, okay, why don't you just play it in like a different key, or like why don't you, you know, flip the song backwards so the beat instead of being one way is actually being played the other way. Or like, why don't you just like, I don't, like he was saying like thinking creatively, like how to get them out of their heads. But yeah, I say it's a really cool book because it helps you to like think about really cool. It's all about like, and essentially the book ends with him talking about like experimentation and like trying new things with your like creativity is like what's really key. So it's really great to see like from literally what you've just shared, you've mentioned that. I'm gonna go on to the next question, which is all about, you know, you've done incredible projects, as you've just mentioned. You know, you've worked on projects with culturally impactful brands like North Face and Cloud X. So how do you ensure that the work stays authentic and truly represents the communities that it speaks to?
Ooh, we are hitting some tough questions today. Repeat that again?
No, that's all right. So you've worked on projects with culturally impactful brands like North Face and Cloud X. How do you ensure that the work stays authentic and truly represents the communities that it speaks to?
I think where I come from in my current role, from a talent perspective, most of what I do day in, day out is making sure I'm picking the correct talent for the correct campaign. Or just even when the most simplest things like seeding / gifting, like making sure that, you know, like you said, the North Face is an incredibly culturally relevant brand, especially in the UK. Like I didn't even realize that the North Face was an outdoor brand. I just saw roadmen around my area wearing it. And I just thought it was like street culture, it was streetwear. So I think it's all about picking the right person. And then it can be culturally relevant. Not everyone's the best fit for the North Face, and everyone's the perfect fit for any brand. It's all about kind of like their story and I guess kind of where they come from and the communities that they represent. And if those communities are the ones that sort of align with the brand too. It sounds a very convoluted way of just saying pick the right person, but yeah, that's my answer.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And like literally, like you said, you know, if you look at brands like Nike, you know, I've always said I love a Nike advert because the way they just like it's very like each brand knows essentially like what it specializes in. So Nike advert is always very much like inspirational. Maybe it's talking about like was it the LeBron one? They did one with, I think, with LeBron where it was like he was playing basketball with a younger version of himself. I think when the Air Jordans released, they did one with Jordan talking about like, making a joke about his jump, and literally like, I haven't watched it, I've heard
so many good things about that documentary.
Yeah.
So many people have said that if you work in partnerships, you need to watch that because it's basically our entire job. Yeah, that's on my list to watch.
No,
Thanks for reminding me.
Because I know they also did the film with like Ben Affleck. I don't remember. Ben Affleck's in it. I think it's called Air. but literally like that film, like I've seen clips and like how they found out about like, one, they like found him, and then when they were just like, oh yeah, we're going to pitch this idea of like Air Jordan and like expand it. It's just like you see how much of like a gamble it was. And they were just
how
like,
well it's
look how well it's done. And I think like that's literally like we said, like it's about finding people who are like authentic to their community and like know how to like represent them well.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think that's why like even when you look like I think sometimes people feel like you can't be like a small business or small creative or like a small influencer and get like these big deals or stuff or like invited to these like big events.
Totally can.
But 100%. It's literally like what we said before, being authentic to yourself and like being that like, I'm not saying like you have to be like friendly all the time, like no one really is, but like it's about like being open and like you'll be surprised, like, I don't know, you might be, I don't know, posting on YouTube and then someone like reaches out and says, oh hey, like I've found your YouTube channel randomly.
Oh my God, 100%. Like as being the person that is literally doing the research, trying to find influencers, creators, the North Face and I think a lot of brands are now skewing to this sort of strategy of like, let's work with smaller people and grow together. Because I think it's really easy to work with really big artists, right? Like it's super, like we could work with who's a really big artist? Yes, we could work with a Skepta. He's great. He's amazing. But I think there's a lot of value in like working with like maybe a slightly smaller underground artist whose community tends to maybe be a little bit more tapped in. They will probably have more influence over said community 100%. Because it's slightly smaller and they're slightly smaller. There's more trust there. And then when you pick someone that's on the precipice of like about to blow, you get to grow with them and they tend to keep you in mind and be a little bit more loyal. And I think a lot that way, but the North Face definitely is like understands how important that is. And like we've worked with creators that only have like 2,000 followers. Like you never know. If you just put yourself out there, do your thing, stay authentic to yourself and you do it with, you know, some creative flair and you're actually talented, people will resonate with whatever you're doing and they might want to put you on a campaign or pay you whatever to make a reel. Like, you know, you never know. There's a lot of people like me trying to find random influencers online.
Well, I think it's like you said there, but like, it's just like by being yourself. That you, like, find, like, these opportunities come and like people find you. But yeah, we're going to go on to the next question, which I will proceed the question with our mic check, which is a fact or figure or story relevant to the conversation that we're having. And today's one is from a report by the Creative Industry Policy and Evidence Centre. And they released a report in 2023 which said that over 36% of UK creatives workers are freelance, and this really highlights, I guess, that creativity is one of the
What's that percentage?
36. Yeah,
it's quite high.
Yeah, it's quite high. And you know, like you said, like it shows like how creativity is one of the most like self-directed like career paths. You know, however, within this report, they found out that like mental health concerns were 3 times more prevalent in this sector than others. And essentially, with your background, with your psychology background and interest in well-being, how has this influenced how you approach creative work and community building?
Ooh. Creative work, community building, I'll take them as separate. So I'd say creative work being kind of, I guess, my job in a sense, because that's largely quite creative as much as there's like a whole admin element to it. But also any kind of like projects or things I want to dip my toes into outside of work. I'm really big on like personal boundaries. It's something I've had to learn the tough way through working at different jobs and not being able to say no to certain things and then realizing, oh my God, it's like 12 a.m. and I just like really should not be doing work right now. So yeah, I'm really big on my boundaries. If I'm over like capacity, I'll say that. I'm just not about trying to do a million different things at once just to show people that, oh my God, like I can do it all, because I don't really care about that. My mental health means a lot more to me because I've learnt through being quite depressed at times that's like if you do not have good mental health, everything else suffers. Your physical health suffers, everything suffers, your relationships suffer, it's just not the vibe. So yeah, be creative, do your thing, but like I am so big on rest and so big on taking time for myself. Like I'm, you know, I think a lot of people, I don't know, I've been like, such a random tangent, but I've been thinking a lot about recently like how people kind of perceive me and if sometimes my own perceptions of myself affect how I think other people see me. And I think I've always considered myself to be quite introverted. And I grew up an only child, even though I have like half siblings, it's pretty much raised on my own. So I'm used to spending a lot of time on my own, and I like a lot of time on my own. But that also means I have quite a short, like small social battery. So when I'm on, and like I'm chatty, I can't stop yapping. And when I'm off, I just want to be on my own, and that can happen quite quickly. And that kind of links to the whole community. What was it? The other part of the question?
Community building.
Yes. I love meeting new people. Like when you reached out on LinkedIn, like I just like. You never know. Like meet someone, speak to them. You never know where it's going to come from. If anything, I'm going to have a good time. Like you know. But I'm also very wary that if I'm not in the mood, I don't want to go to a random networking thing. I don't want to go out to an event and meet people. I'm just not interested. So I know when I do try and force myself in those spaces, I do end up like just feeling very like mentally drained and not with it. So yeah, I think mental health is kind of at the forefront of everything that I do. I just never want to show up and not give my best to people, whether that's in my work, hobbies, or just like building connections. If I'm not on top form, or at least 80%, I just would rather not. Yeah, just because I think mental health is more important than most things. Yeah.
No, it definitely is, and I feel like you said there, like, mental health just like impacts like everything. But I think like. I know you said it was like, you felt like it was a tangent, but I think it's actually an interesting point to touch on, because I do think like sometimes how you perceive yourself, or like how things go, is completely different to like, I guess the like overall experience.
Yeah.
And yeah, I guess like, if we're being personal, like I would say like in my own experience, like sometimes it's like a mix of things. So I'll talk about like from a business aspect and then as an individual. So from a business aspect, sometimes I pick up the mic, I'm like, we are not where we should be. Because like, maybe it's because, you know, we're still like revenue generating, and I'm like, oh, like I want to pick up the mic to be like at a stage where it's like constantly bringing in money. Or maybe it's like, oh, you know, I don't know, like you get someone more senior, or like someone like in an organization to like, you reach out to them to maybe like work with them and stuff, and then you don't get a response and things like that. So yeah, sometimes I'm like very like critical of like where pick up the mic is. And I'm trying to now like remind myself of what I shouted him out before. Shout him out again, Samuel, my friend.
Samuel.
Yeah, great friend. And funny enough, also someone who has a psychology background.
Oh, no.
And I tell people, like, even though he was originally like one of the people that hosted this podcast with me, and then now, like, because of his work, so he works for a charity that essentially supports like prisoners with like their alcohol and drug addiction. So he goes into prisons and like talks to them and like discusses mental health and well-being with them. But I tell people like he finds it like very like, if he's watching this or hearing this, like this will be funny. But like I know he says that he doesn't like me shouting out at him at events, but I always shout him out because like he's very much like in tune. I don't know. It's one of those people that like I feel like he's very good at like knowing like how you're feeling and stuff, even if you don't necessarily say it. And I think like I know me. Like most people say that when they see me, I've got a smile on my face. I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes super stressed, and like I'm just thinking like
I was smiling from pain.
But he's like, so when we did our full year event, so we last month we did our full year event and we celebrated 4 years to pick up mic, and we were just like, this is great. Brought everyone together, and then no one knew beforehand, but I was like, okay, cool. So this year, you know, it's 4 years. It's been great, but I don't want to talk about like pick up the mic and my journey and like the team. I was like, I want to celebrate people who've been along our journey, who we feel like deserve to be spotlighted. And we were just like, look, there's a lot of people we've spotlighted over the last couple of years, but we want this to be like people that we feel like actually, you know, you've done incredible work. And basically I was like giving them all these awards, all of that stuff. And then literally before Samuel went, he was just like, oh, like, I just want to tell you something. And I was like, yeah, what's up? And he was like, I just want you to know that like, I know you mentioned when you were up there, like you're not at a stage where you're like, generating loads of revenue or like bringing in loads of money. But he said like, but like look at all the people that turned up and like look at all the things that they're saying about like you, pick up the mic, their experience with working with you. And he was just like, you might not think you're like wealthy in the sense of like money, but he said like you've got such an incredible community.
And that's wealth.
And that's wealth. And I was just like, damn. And I was just like, wow, man, thank you so much. So I always say like, I didn't tell him like, oh my gosh, I'm like stressing about this event, or I'm thinking now, how can I like leverage, pick up the mic and like get it to grow and like do all this like forecasting and stuff. No, he was literally just like, yeah, man, just think about that. Just like, digest that. So yeah, that was really great. And I think even that links to like the personal thing, because sometimes I feel like you can be very much like with the like overcritical about yourself. Sometimes you can be the same on like a personal level. So like sometimes, you know, and I think it took me like time to learn it, but like sometimes it can be like with feedback. So someone might give you feedback and you might feel like, oh my days, like I thought this was really great, and they're like ripping it apart. I now feel like, am I bad at my job? Am I bad at this? Am I bad at that? But I think it's like very much like my parents, like to be honest, my whole family actually, to be fair, say it, that like when it comes to like giving people advice, like when they're just like, sometimes we might be like strong on the advice, or you might feel like the advice is like,
families usually
no, honestly. I've always said it, family, your biggest supporter is sometimes your biggest critic. But they were saying like, you know, we're doing it because we want like, we care and support you, and I love what you do. And for me, it's just like a reminder that like, hey, like bear in mind that like, my family could let me like go, or like let's say like job applications. I could apply for a job. Mental health is really important to us at Pick Up the Mic, and we love to share resources that can support your mental health. And that's why we are so glad to have today's sponsor. Thank you to BetterHelp for sponsoring this video. BetterHelp is the world's largest therapy service, and it's 100% online. With BetterHelp, you can tap into a network of over 30,000 licensed and experienced therapists who can help you with a wide range of issues. To get you started, you just answer a few questions about your needs and preferences in therapy. That way, BetterHelp can match you with the right therapist from their network. Then you can talk to your therapist however you feel comfortable, whether it's via text, chat, phone, or video call. You can message your therapist at any time and schedule live appointments when it's convenient for you. If your therapist isn't right for any reason, you can switch to a new therapist at no additional charge. With BetterHelp, you get the same professionalism and quality you expect from in-office therapy, but with a therapist who is custom-picked for you, more scheduling flexibility, and at an affordable price. Get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/pickupthemic. I've also linked them down below in the description. So again, that's betterhelp.com/pickupthemic, MIC, and start your journey today. Or cover letter, and they might like rip it to shreds. Or I might feel like, you know, I put so much time and effort into this, and they're not like appreciating this and all of that. But then like my sister was, or like my family said, and like most recently my sister said it, that like, hey, look, like you also need to bear in mind that like we're all doing this because like we love you and we want you to like be to get these opportunities, and we're not necessarily giving you this advice because we want to give you more work, or we like don't want you to succeed or all this stuff. It's just like, no, like we want to support you and like help you grow. So I think sometimes like that over analytical, like being very critical about yourself can also like impact like you said, that perception of self and how you see like the work that you do. 100%.
100%. Yeah, no, I had so many thoughts when you were saying that. I've kind of lost all of them. But yeah, it's really hard not to be critical of yourself. I think also when you're quite self-aware. And am I correct in saying that you were quite good in school?
You know what? It's one of those ones that like, when I'm asked that question, I'm not gonna lie. I think yes. But like I would say, like grades are grades. Like people are surprised. Like for the longest time, I was very embarrassed to say this. Now I don't really care. But like I got so A levels. I got what was it? I think it was CCE, and like I got a C in drama, C in history. My A levels were also very random. I did history, drama, and physics. And for my degree,
my A levels were super random as well.
What did you do A levels?
I did psychology, history and media studies, which, as we all know, in the UK, media studies was the subject they used to put all the rejects of the other subjects into. You had done it for a couple of weeks and they were like, no, get out, go to media studies. I picked it because I genuinely was like really interested. Like, and I think that's kind of where the creative bug kind of came from. I just found it really interesting. Like, I loved it. There was a bunch of people in there who didn't want to be there. And for the final project, I was like, yeah, like, let's write this like really long essay talking about, I don't know, it was probably really long-winded what my essay was. But I really enjoyed it. Super random, but yeah.
Sorry, no, definitely, I agree. It's the same with drama. Like, I loved like acting. I loved like the whole idea of like, not necessarily even like playing other characters, but I've always loved comedy. So like for me, it was really cool to like just make people like laugh and smile. And like, I've always said like, if money was an issue, or like if I could go into any industry now, like I would love to just like do acting. Like,
love that.
Either theatre or like film. Or like
And you
Hollywood.
always can.
And you always can.
You always can.
And I feel like that's what, like, you know, like, this is my call out. So anyone watching who wants to put me in a film, just hit me up. But yeah, no, I feel like with the question on, so like I got an E in physics, and like physics was the one I needed for my degree.
Yeah.
And like you were talking about like your degree not being necessarily linked to what you're doing now, like my background, my undergrad was in environmental science, my master's was in sustainability, entrepreneurship and design. So there is like a huge disconnect between, I guess, what I studied and what I'm currently doing now. So yeah, when I say like, and that's a long-winded way to say like, when I was saying like, I always wonder like, did I do good in school? I was like,
who cares?
Essentially, yeah. And I think it took me time, like I said about like that critical analysis. Like, I think for the longest time, I was like, you know, like I can't tell people my grades, this and that. And then my dad was like, look, you're at university. You got into university.
You got there.
He's like, why do you care if you got like 2 C's and an E? He's just like, who cares? Like, you're at university. This is where you can change. Like, if you want to change things, you can change things. And then he was arguably it's the same way undergrad. So I got I don't even remember. I think I got a 2-1. Yeah, I think I got a 2-1. I don't remember. See, look, that's what I mean. I don't even remember what I got from undergrad.
That's how unimportant it is. Honestly, like, I really hope my sister watches or at least listens to this snippet of the podcast, because she's currently doing her A-levels. Her first one's on Monday, and she's bricking it because the thing is, I get it. Because when you're in school, that's your whole life.
100%.
Failing an exam, it's like death.
Yeah.
But realistically, has anyone asked me what I've got for my A-level grade since I've left? No. Barely anyone even asked me. Like, the only purpose going to uni has served is that people see it and they're like, cool. You know, she's probably not dumb. She can, like, you know, she's all right. Other than that, all they want to know is all of your experience. And one thing I've realised so much, like, because I've had a lot of different random jobs, which means I've also done so many interviews. There was one time earlier on last year where I think I had an interview every single day of the week, and I had 2 on one day. It was long. And one thing I've realised through that process is that people want to hire someone they like.
100%.
And one of the most important things in life is just like, I don't know, be a good person, be a people person, like be someone that can make people smile, make people laugh, be memorable. 100%. And that was probably going to hold a lot more weight in terms of getting yourself where you want to be, and a lot less about the grades.
No, 100%. Yeah. No, it's so true. And literally, like, even, like I talked about this story, I've mentioned this story before, but like for my undergrad, when I did, so I was like looking for a job I could do for my placement year, and applied for one at my university. And literally, the story, like, yeah, so the story goes, I went into the interview, I had to do a presentation, and then was asked some questions, and then literally on the way home, fastest I ever heard back from a job. Way home, I get called, was offered the job. And I was like, oh, cool.
Happened to me once. Great feeling.
Honestly,
I haven't even got home yet.
And I was like, okay, cool, thank you very much. And then literally when I started working for my manager, she was just like, oh, like, I want to tell you something about your interview. And I was like, oh yeah, so like, go ahead. And she was just like, yeah, so essentially I'd been in interviews like for the whole day. And she was just like, you were the last interview and it was very tiring. She was just like, I feel like none of these candidates were the right people. And she said, like, when she walked out, she wasn't expecting, like, anything different. She was like, look, it's going to be tough. I'm either going to have to ask to, like, I've forgotten the words.
Put the job description back out.
Put the job out again. Or she was just like, or I'm just going to have to be like, yeah, no, we can't hire anyone this year. And then she said, funnily enough, and I don't remember, like I said, this is what I mean by, like, people say, like, I smile a lot. I don't remember doing this. But she was just like, the first thing that I saw was when I saw you, I looked over and I said, oh, are you Jeffrey? And she said, you had the biggest smile, and then you shook my hand, and you were so friendly and so warm. She was just like, look, if I could have just offered you the job there, I would have done it.
You're not after these losers.
And I think like we said about like just being like memorable and friendly and like just be a good person. Be a good person, yeah.
Just be nice, smile at people, like, I don't know, all of it feels quite basic, doesn't it? But like, I feel like the more you move through a life as an adult, the older that you get, and I'm saying this as if like I'm 60 and mad wise, I'm actually only 25, but like it's still like you learn so much just through leaving school and like actually being in the real world that like there's some proper assholes and like there's some people that just like the social skills aren't quite there, like so yeah, not everyone can be like that.
100%.
And so there's so much power in actually being that kind of person. And people, those are the people that like who want to work with you.
100%.
Yeah.
And literally like and I guess for anyone watching, if you're doing interviews, this is best advice I've ever heard. They said, always assume
Yeah.
that they said, don't assume that the interview starts when you're in the room. The interview starts like as soon as you get there.
Yeah.
Because they said sometimes organizations will ask the reception team like, oh, how was this
I've heard
person?
that as well.
And I was just like, oh no, I never thought. I was just like, I'm just friendly.
And if you've come in all rude, huffing and puffing, they're gonna say something.
Yeah.
100%.
They were just like, yeah, just be like kind. You don't know who you'll meet. They were just like, just be aware of your surroundings.
Yeah.
But it's literally like we said, like people, even arguably like outside of just like jobs and interviews, like even with like brands and stuff, like people won't want to work with you if they like, and also people think people around the industry like don't talk. People talk. People talk. They like people.
Industries are all small. Exactly. People talk.
And you never know. Like someone might be like, "Oh, I heard that like this person might be working with you," and they'll be like, "Oh yeah, like the worst time." Like even I tell people like, obviously like the podcast, like, well, I hope you're having a good time. But like,
this is great.
Because like guests like enjoy it, and I say like, look, like. You know, sometimes people just, I've heard about like someone else's experience on the podcast, or like, oh, I saw that like my friend, my cousin, my brother, whatever was on the podcast. And I was like, yeah, like it's chill. People should enjoy this time coming on here. Like, I don't see it as like, I should make it awful for you or like, and vice versa. Like sometimes if someone may be difficult to work with, I might like tell someone like, oh, heads up, like this person's really good, like can do a really good job for you. But hey, I'm just giving you forewarning. They might be difficult to work with. But yeah, it's like we said, like just be yourself, be a good person. Literally. It's so important.
Literally. That is the message. I love that. Be authentic. Be a good person. Great messages from this podcast.
You know, we keep it nice and simple. Nice and simple. We've come to the very last question before we go into passing the mic. And this is, what advice would you give to students who feel unsure about following a non-linear career path or are questioning how to show up authentically in their work?
I just think you should always trust your gut. I'm surprised I haven't said this earlier in the podcast because I feel like I say it at least a couple times a week to my friends, to whoever. Like, I just think whatever you want to do, if it feels authentic to yourself, because I think often your brain can be a bit too logical and your heart runs on emotion. So the thing you should really trust is your gut feeling. You know, it's even down to like, you know, sometimes like if you meet a new person and you get a feeling in your gut where you're like, yeah, I'm not really quite vibing with this person. Trust that, because chances are down the line, they'll show their hand. And I think that same thing goes for like career paths or just following your interests. Like if you're interested in something, it feels right. When you do it, you feel really, really good about it. Just like explore whatever options there are in that. I think with the creative industry, it's so gate kept. Like I don't know if you had a career like guidance counsellor person in school. We had kind of like one, you know, we didn't have a lot of money. I had probably like one session. And they tell you about, you know, you could be a lawyer and all the really traditional stuff. No one talks about the creative industry. So I feel like if it's a creative passion, if that's the route you want to go down, what is it? What is it that you like doing? Do you like music? Do you like painting? Like, what is it? Do you like, you know, making YouTube videos, like interviewing people? Hey, maybe the podcasting thing's for you. Maybe you should look at some internships, you know, in that field and see where it goes. Often it always starts with internships, let's be honest, in this space. That's how it starts. And then you start learning, and you realise, oh my God, like this is how I get kind of like a big boy role. So yeah, just be authentic to yourself, follow your gut, and I'm pretty sure that will lead you to where you want to be and put you on the right path. That sounds super basic and also quite vague, but if you know what it feels like to have that feeling in your stomach, then you know what to do.
100%. That's it. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, thank you.
That one's sweet, the last question.
So yeah, now we go on to passing the mic, where we swap roles. So let me know questions.
So I was thinking about this on the way, and I think given the music head that I am, I would love to know what vibe you've been listening to recently. So this can be a specific song, an artist, an album on replay, a genre, like what have you been into recently?
Okay. I was not expecting that. That's a good question.
I don't know, I thought out of all the questions, that's what you'd be expecting.
This is a good question. Artists I've been listening, so, okay, bit of context.
Okay.
This is a cop-out answer that I say.
Cool.
Everyone says like their music choice is varied.
I say you listen to everything.
No, I won't say I listen to everything because I don't listen to everything. But I say like my music choice is very random. So
Same.
I like anime. So like I have a lot of like anime theme songs. Like literally I've got a playlist for like anime theme songs and like stuff like that I really like. My dad, funnily enough, like I don't think I've ever said this on the podcast. So listeners and viewers may know that like my brother runs like an independent record label. So like my brother has a like
What's the name?
It's called EBI Records.
Is it in London?
Yeah.
Cool.
So he's currently like out of the country, but he like still like does stuff and he's worked with like artists in America and like he's actually contributed to 2 games. So I always shout out like he has done incredible work.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think I've mentioned my dad is like was used to DJ in Nigeria. Like he
rap. That's crazy.
Yeah, he keeps this under wraps. Like he was just like, I DJed at parties. Like my mom jokes like, you used to DJ at parties. Like, all of that. He's just like, yeah, you know, it's like music's just not the same as it used to be.
They love that one.
And I was just like, this is so like.
What kind of music did he?
Like Fella. He would do Fella. He loved. What other music? Oh jeez, man, I need to ask him this. I know he loved. Oh jeez, it'll come to me.
It'll come to me. We'll get back to that.
We'll get back to that. But yeah, literally, so I think for me, it's like jazz and stuff, like through him, I like as well. There's this like Christian artist that I listen to a lot called Forrest Frank. It's like really cool. I think for him, he's like nice because he's like, a lot of his songs are like feel good. So it's like really good, like upbeat stuff to listen to. But I always shout him out. I didn't meet him. I will put up, this is, whatever camera will pick this up. I don't know which one, but I need to remember to put this up. One artist that I'm desperate to see, and the one time he was doing like a small intimate thing, which was completely free, I couldn't go, my sisters went, is Sam Henshaw. I don't know if you've listened to him before.
Yeah, no, I know who he is. I don't think I've listened, not like consciously, you know, sometimes music might just be on the radio. But yeah, no, I know
I'll definitely
who he is,
recommend. Like his music's really nice. Yeah, like I said, he did this like impromptu performance. I couldn't go. My sisters met him, spoke to him, and then because I couldn't go, he sent like, this is where the video will play. So I will keep quiet for a couple of seconds. But yeah, essentially like, so I couldn't go to the event. But then he was talking to my sisters, and my eldest sister was just like, oh yeah, like my brother was actually the one that introduced us to your music. He loves like the stuff you do. He couldn't come today. And he was like, why don't I just record like a nice message to like tell him that like for him. And I was just like, so literally my sisters were just like, oh, we got a surprise for you. And I was like, I'm literally coming for an event. You weren't expecting that. I was like, what's this? And then I got home and they're just like, yeah, we've got something to show you. I was like, okay, like, did you get merch?
Yeah.
Like, and they showed me the video and he was just like, yeah, like, so sorry you couldn't make it, Jeffrey, but like, thanks for your support and like, hopefully see you at the next one.
Oh,
and I was
that's
like,
so sweet.
Damn. I was like, Sam Henshaw, you're one of a kind, man. So that was like, that meant a lot to me. That was like a huge surprise. But yeah, I would say like, for the most part, like, I think I get what you mean about like having like an ear for music because sometimes, like I have different playlists. I've actually literally just started a new one I'm trying to title it Feel Good Music. But I always find that like sometimes you need like specific songs to match like specific moods. And maybe it's because like...
you do. All my playlists are curated on vibes. I was having this conversation with my friend and he likes making genre-specific playlists. You know, he has this grime playlist, he has this da-da-da-da-da. I just like, I think I get quite bored listening to one genre at once. But there's always a feeling I'm after. So maybe the sun's out, I have a summer playlist. Maybe I'm looking for some like vibey, like dance music. I've got a playlist for that. Maybe want to listen to something a little bit more hardcore. I've got a playlist for that. I want to hear rap. I've got a playlist for that. Bunch of American, all sorts of stuff. I just think it's all a vibe.
No, 100%.
I can't stick to one genre 100%. For one extended listening period. I've just got to switch it up, but it's all in a vibe.
Yeah. No, definitely agree. Like literally, even like what you're saying. So like if I'm going to... Like, if I'm doing an event and I'm, like, literally, like, I need to, like, get in the zone. I need it to be, like, you know, like, hard-hitting, like, whether it's rap or grime. Like, that's what I'm listening to. If it's, like, oh, hey, like you said, like, sun's out. I'm, like, carefree. The way the world's not on my shoulders. Like, I'm playing this. If I'm, like, I'm literally in the trenches and I need something to motivate me out of it, like... I have songs for that. But yeah, I would say my recommendations, Forrest Frank's really good. Sam Henshaw, also really good. I like doing things in threes, so who else would I recommend? Okay, well, I have Spotify on my laptop. I'm going to need
Your dad.
Well,
Obviously, he doesn't make music.
He doesn't make music.
Who
Yeah,
knows?
actually, while this loads, so I think he did a lot of like, I'm not gonna lie, I couldn't name more than, he did some like DJing for like Nigerian artists as well.
That's so sick. That's like one of those things that, like, sometimes you hear from your parents that's like, oh, like, by the way, my dad was almost going to be in, I think, the Olympics in the 1994, 96.
Yes, I think 90.
He was going to be in the Nigerian, like, relay team in swimming, but he's passed it up to go to uni in Finland where he met my mum and they had me. And he just, like, that very later on in my life got revealed. And I was like, that's really cool. Like, for you to, like, be so athletic that you can, like, actually qualify to be in a team in the Olympics to represent, like, that's really cool. And, like, why have I only just found that out? Like, yeah, parents, and you realise that as you grow up and you have all these really cool experiences, you're like, yeah, if I have kids, like, I'm just going to bust out one time that, like, yeah, like, I used to DJ. And they're going to be like, that's really cool. Like, because they just don't see you as cool people.
No, 100%. I think even like my sister was telling me about it this morning that Ashley Tisdale, who played Sharpay in High School Musical, like her daughter.
Legendary film.
Oh, even like, I think, did I see a post about that? That was like it must be like over coming up to 20 years. I was like, damn.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Getting old.
Yeah. But literally, she was saying like what you said, that her daughter apparently like loves Sharpay.
Yeah.
Didn't necessarily, and I think it's funny when like children don't connect that their parents are the actors in certain films.
Yeah.
So they're like, oh yeah, I love this person, and they're just like, oh yeah, that's me. They're just like, no, it's not. Like this person's like cool. Like you're just you.
But does she not look exactly?
You see what I mean? But apparently her daughter like would like play the music, and she said it was like one of the most like funniest things that when she's like driving with her daughter, because her daughter will be like, I want you to play Sharpay songs, and then
It's like, I am Sharpay.
I am Sharpay. So literally said, I'm not vain. Like if you see me or like if you see me in a car and I'm playing, like it's not because I want to necessarily listen to my own music. It's my daughter. But yeah, I would say one final one. I need to go on my on repeats to just see what I've been listening to a lot. You know what? It's very random, and they were on my Spotify Wrapped last year. One Republic.
Who are they?
So they, you know, I can't even describe them as, I don't even know what genre it would be, but they're basically like a band, like, think...
Like indie, maybe? Indie rock?
Kind of, I'd say maybe indie rock.
I went through such an indie phase when I was 17. I thought it was so cool listening to, like, the XX and stuff. Yeah. They're still great, but what a phase.
I think it's like what you said, like, sometimes you just, like, go through phases. But yeah, you know... Apologise with Timbaland.
Yes.
So the person who's singing is the leader, like the lead singer in this band. But yeah, literally, like, so, and they sang Counting Stars. I'm not going to sing it because, like...
Oh, them!
Yeah. So very random. This is what I mean by, like, my music choice is random. So they released a song for an anime, and I was like, oh, this is cool. Like, I'm going to go back. And then they also released... for Top Gun Maverick, they released like a summer song for it. I was like, oh, this is really good. Yeah. And then I just slowly went back to like listening to their songs. And yeah, I've just been like, damn, this is nice. This is like super random. So yeah, those would be my three. Very random. And I will give one more because I've been talking a lot about anime, so I will give a shout out to...
I love that you have an anime theme tune. It's not that dissimilar from people who love like Disney music and have playlists for that.
Literally, one song I will say that I've been playing a lot. I don't know if you ever watched What's New Scooby-Doo?
No. Do you know what? I know this sounds really weird, but I just used to be really scared of Scooby-Doo when I was younger. Really? Yeah. I don't know, a bit of a wuss. I just didn't watch it. I was like, oh, it's so scary. It just definitely wasn't scary. So no, I actually don't know anything about Scooby-Doo.
But I would recommend the band is called Simple Plan. They like did a version like a updated of the original like version. But yeah, literally, I think like one time at work, I was like, I think I heard it on like somewhere, and I was like, I haven't heard it in ages. Like, let me just listen to it. No, I just listened to it like randomly. So yeah, with the anime theme song list, it's just sometimes like there might be like a random song that comes up. But one I would recommend, or like a band I'd recommend because they do a lot of cool theme songs and they never miss, is they're called Flow. I would say they're definitely more like...
three girls?
No. These are like, I think these are four guys.
Oh, there's two Flows.
Yeah.
Also Flo who...
Funnily enough, you know, like this is random. They're coming to Somerset House to perform in the summer.
Oh my God, yes. I think I saw a poster on the Underground. And it's like, God, Gigs and Friends or something?
Yeah, Gigs was generally, when they announced, like, this is a bit of, like,
Gigs at
exclusive stuff.
Somerset House sounds... That sounds interesting.
When they announced it, I think all of us, because before like releasing the tickets, they were just like, oh yeah, we're just letting you all know, like we've got the list of the lineup for this year, this is who's going to be, and like everyone in my team was just like, Gigs. Gigs is an interesting choice, Somerset House. And then we were all just like, Gigs and Friends. Okay, so
because you know the Friends is just going to be all the random. It's going to be great, all rocking up to Somerset House. I love that.
Like, it's very interesting, because like, I think this year is the one that I feel like, I don't know all the artists, but I know like quite a few. So like Flo is one of them, Rizzle Kicks is coming as well.
I love that comeback.
So I was just like, this is a nice like lineup. And I was like, this is really good. But like generally I was just like, the Gigs one, I was just like, it's just going to be so funny.
That night's going to be so jokes.
But fun, you know, that night was actually, I don't know how fast the others sold.
Has it happened already?
No.
Okay,
literally sold out, like, ticket-wise. Like,
I'm not surprised.
Like, they were just like, oh yeah, for staff get free tickets. Like, we get 2 free tickets.
You get to go to the love that.
So I was like, cool, like, I'll get Gigs. 2 minutes, right? After they posted about it. Sold out. My manager's just like...
It's a big place, you know.
You see what I mean?
There's a lot of space for a lot of people, so the fact that it's sold out
I was like, okay,
so
cool.
quickly.
Guess I'm not seeing Gigs then. So I think I ended up like I gave my sister the ticket. She's going to see Flo with a friend. But yeah, literally like Rizzle Kicks, same thing. Like I was just like, cool, I'm going into a meeting, I'll book Rizzle Kicks afterwards.
Yeah,
boom,
no,
Rizzle Kicks sold out.
On that, yeah.
But yeah, massive tangent. So, Flow, so they're Flow with like a W, so like Flow is in like wind flow and stuff like that. But yeah, they personally, to me, I love them. What's their best song I'd recommend? Probably. It's Remember. I can't, like, you're not going to sing it.
No, Remember.
But I would recommend that. And I'd say generally, if you want to like immerse yourself, like, I couldn't tell you what they're saying in Japanese, but I'm not going to lie, the music, it slaps.
You know what, sometimes you don't need to understand what they're saying.
100%.
You actually don't. I think I always say this because my boyfriend spits and he's big on like lyricism and bars and like, you know, it's like really important to deep it. And don't get me wrong, there's certain tunes where you have to focus on what they're saying because the beat is so simple and the power of the song is in what they're saying. But honestly, I think a lot of my love for electronic music is the fact that there's not too much emphasis on the words or there's no lyrics at all. And it's just about the way it sounds or the way it makes you feel. So why not listen to some Japanese tunes? Because you actually don't need to understand what they're saying to enjoy
100%.
it.
And like, yeah, so like some of these like, you know, okay, I'm definitely going on like a music tangent, but...
No, I love this. This is right up my alley.
No, this is why, like, even like with instrumental, I love like instrumental, but not like when I say instrumental, people think I'm talking about like classical music. I'm not saying like all classical music is rubbish. Actually, I can't be. This is a new one. I would recommend. His name is, I think it's Kevin Olusoya.
Okay. Where's he from?
He's Nigerian American. Surnames, any like generally, surname will give. But he actually, so he's a part of Pentatonics.
Okay.
So he also releases songs by himself. So he released this new one, which is called, so it's Hallelujah, and it's I Don't Think About You. And essentially I think it's Beethoven, I could be wrong. But he's essentially a classically trained, like, I don't know what the word is for people who play the cello, but he basically plays the cello. But he's like really cool with it. So he's like, oh, I've got this like background in classical music, but I want to like implement like essentially like modern beats with classical music. So I think it is Beethoven who did like a version of Hallelujah, which is the Hallelujah, Hallelujah, Hallelujah. So he basically remixes that in the sense of like he does that as well as essentially doing a song about like he's essentially saying Hallelujah because he doesn't think about his ex anymore. And I was like, let me give it a listen. Like, I don't know how it's going to sound. I loved it. Listen to it today. It's on my playlist now. But yeah, I would say instrumental music, I love it because, so I also love like, typically it's mainly like gaming or movie soundtracks. Yeah. For the reason being, and there is scientific, I couldn't tell you from where, but there is scientific evidence, according to Instagram, that essentially, you know, obviously, so on social media must be true. But apparently, listening to like, gaming music, so especially with gaming music, they said it's designed for you to like do other stuff while listening to it.
So fair.
because they were just like, you're literally like, maybe you're like fighting a boss, or maybe you're like scrolling, like you're traveling around in the game, and they were just like, it's designed for you to not be focusing on the music. So the music is there, and it can still be really good, it can be moving, it can be impactful, but it's also like allows you to like do other things. So I think especially when I was like doing my dissertation, like my instrumental playlist was like great, because it could just like get it was something I could play in the background, and I wouldn't necessarily be like, oh, I'm getting distracted because maybe, you know, I love this song and I love like going along with the lyrics and stuff like that. It was like, no, like I can focus on what I need to do.
That was literally me. I feel like everyone dabbled in a bit of a lo-fi chill hip hop type beats, you know, those like live playlists. I swear everyone listened to those at some point. But when I was studying for my GCSEs, because I was like, I keep getting distracted with all this like great music I'm listening to. So I started listening to like a lot of like bossa nova and a lot of like Cuban music, because again, I couldn't understand what they were saying. But also, I don't know, it was just like, I'm not really going to sing along to this, but it's a vibe.
Yeah. And sometimes you just need that.
Yeah, sometimes you just don't want something you can focus on too hard. I wouldn't be listening to gigs on Rising, put it that way.
But no, I definitely agree. And yeah, who is someone that I would recommend from my nice assortment of playlists? Let me. You know, it's one of those ones I can't find. If I can't find it quick enough, I will just
give up.
Never give up.
Okay,
I've got it. I'd say it depends on the mood. Actually, you know what? You know who always... and actually, you know what? I'm going to shout out this person, because their music does slap. And they were in a big film this year. It is Ludwig... What is his name? Basically, I'll give pretext to who... Oh, yeah, okay. I'm not even going to... I'll make his name appear. I'm not even going to...
I know it's complicated.
Goranson? I probably butchered your name. I'm so sorry. But he did the soundtrack for Sinners. Okay. He did the soundtrack for...
I've heard amazing things about that film.
I've heard that, yeah.
Haven't watched it yet.
I haven't watched it either, but I've heard that it is amazing.
Okay,
I'm very much excited. He also has worked with like Ryan Coogler a lot, so he did the soundtrack for, I think, both Black Panthers. Yeah, for both Black Panthers as well. He did it for The Mandalorian. He did it for Oppenheimer. I think he even did it for like some Marvel shows in the past. Like his
films.
But his like soundtracks, all like it. I think especially for like Black Panther and Sinners, one of the reasons why people said they loved them for Sinners is it gets, like the music that plays for like each of the different cultures in Sinners matches like what it, like those cultures, and it gets like the timings. And with Black Panther, it's the same thing. So like one of my favorite tracks that he did was actually, funnily enough, Killmonger's like theme song in that. And it's just like, I don't know, man. I like generally, I've always said like music as like an art, to be able to create music or to create like sounds is incredible. But yeah, man, I just see like, I listen to his music and I'm just like, man, it must be nice to just like, be like, oh yeah, I see, like, yeah, be that guy and just be like, this is how the music should be arranged. Yeah. And yeah, because I know we're going on the music. I mean, I'm happy to continue the music. This is fun. But there was this one comedian who he actually was, so he's a musician. Yeah. And he would implement like music into his comedy. And he basically played, I don't know what, it's like a classical piece of music. I don't know what it's called, but it goes...
Yes, yeah, we all know that. No one knows who made that.
But he apparently, so it's not apparent, so there's a video of him, and if I can find it, I'll put it up. But if not, I would say just look up. He basically like played the music like upside down. So he was playing it like the other way around. So it was like sounding like... And then people just like, what is this musical piece? Like, what is this? It sounds really good. And then literally you just see him like flip the paper to be like, oh my days, I'm like an idiot. I completely forgot to like play it the right way. And then he plays it and everyone's just like, oh my gosh. And people were just like, to be able to play music backwards, but it still sounds, one, to be able to write a song that your music being played backwards sounds good. Yeah. But then also to be able to like, as a musician, play music backwards and you're seeing it on a sheet. It's like a skill. So yeah, that's my music stuff.
Yeah, no, musicians are crazy.
Yeah. Any other questions that you would like to ask?
Ooh. Do you know what? What's the last great event you've been to? This doesn't have to be music. This can be anything. Okay. Any event. Any event. Gathering of people.
Okay. That is a good question. The last great event. And I also need to be careful because some people that I know organise events. So if I didn't say your event, I love everyone's event. That's my...
I just had to pick one.
But yeah, no, if I had to pick one... I'm going to have to think about this for a minute. One that I will say, which people might be surprised because it's my work one, is so as a part of my like job, because we support black-owned businesses, at the end we have this big like showcase event. And the reason why I always love it is like a mix of two things. One is because like you're seeing all these people who've been like working on stuff for the last year. But I guess like on a personal level, it's like it's a space filled with like black people all doing incredible work.
Yeah.
And it's like
that's lit.
Yeah, and it's just like there's something about like the I have to say the vibe, but like something about the room that like when we do it, it's like so cool, and it's just like you're seeing all these people like just enjoying themselves, being happy, and all of this stuff. And like for me, it's not necessarily like I know some people just like they'll shout out like maybe myself, my manager, like people involved in the program. Yeah. But for me, it's like no, it's like you've all done like really cool stuff, and you're like showing how you've like grown and changed. And I'm just like wow, like. I don't know, sometimes I see it as like a privilege to be a part of the journey. So yeah, I would say the last one that happened was in February. So I would say like those series of events as a whole, but the one in February like was really nice to just
I
vibe with everyone and just see.
That's cool. I do have one more question.
Go ahead.
What is one of the biggest things you've learned about yourself through doing this podcast? Ooh. So from like infancy, like when you were at uni to like now. Ooh. I guess kind of like weaved into that, like how have you changed? But kind of sort of the same question, kind of maybe. No,
you know, all three of these questions I've never been answered for. This is nice.
I love it's great when it comes to questions.
I would say one thing I've learned about myself. Getting deep.
I love it.
Yeah.
I feel like any conversation I have with someone at some point, and it doesn't usually take very long, will get quite deep. I think that's the way to be, man.
No, 100%. Yeah. Jeez, one thing I've learned about myself. I think, like you said, I think like I think it's like, it's one thing, but there's like two parts. So it's one about like, I guess, the confidence of like putting yourself out there. So literally like we said, like starting this out, it was literally just like friends that were being interviewed and stuff like that. Yeah. Now I say, literally like we said, like we did not know each other before this, and I literally just reached out to you, and like, and now we're here. So for me, it's like the power of like just being like, just creating that space and like being okay to like trial things, do things, put yourself out there. And then I'd say on the flip side, it's also about like, I don't know, like I guess never feeling like the work you're doing isn't actually you know, the first one is important. This would probably be the biggest thing. Like never seeing that the work that I do isn't important or like isn't being, I think like we said before about like not being noticed. Yeah. And the biggest example I say of that is like there are people that like come onto the podcast or like they tell me they like, I don't know, like we did a full-year event and someone was there in attendance and I was like, oh hey, it was great to meet you, like thanks for coming. And then she mentioned like she was from BAFTA. And I was like, oh sick, like that's great you work at BAFTA. Like, you know, how did you find out about the event? She was like, hey, I literally just saw like your post on LinkedIn and I like kept an eye on stuff. And then when I saw this, I was like, I might as well come along. So for me, it's always like, you never know like where you're like, you might feel like, oh, like, I don't know, like we said before, you don't have a lot of followers, you don't have a lot of views, your content's not necessarily like doing well. But you never know like, who can like someone might see it and you never know where that can lead. And I feel like that's been like the best thing that I've enjoyed with this journey is just like, I don't know, I've brought people onto the podcast and you know maybe they've like found business partners through like, I don't know, they've said they want to meet new people. I've brought people on and then maybe recommended them for other podcasts. You know, I haven't been a matchmaker in relationships just yet.
You know what, that will come soon.
You know, when it comes, I kid you not, I will 100% like,
just a connector in every way.
In every way, I'll be like, if you need help in any way or circumstance, we're the right people to go to. But yeah, no, it's just like interesting to me to like see all these people connect, and like that's why I love like and it's one of the things I'm working on because I know I've been saying like since the start of the year we want to do more events, and we do. It's just events is complicated and a lot to plan. But yeah, no, 100%. I've said like I love I love pick up the mic events because like we said, I never see our events as like I want it to be traditional networking or like corporate or anyway. It's like very much like low-key and chill. So even for literally a vibe. So like for our 4-year event, like I was just like once we gave out the awards and stuff, like and I like did a small bit of a presentation. I was like, no, literally we're gonna do like a vision boarding session. Someone else is gonna do like a network, so the 44 questions that we did at the start. The person that runs that, she actually like delivered. She's got like a booklet with the 44 questions. So she gave it out to people. They were asking people different questions. But yeah, I literally told everyone, I was like, look, like, it's low-key and chill. I want you to network, like, celebrate. My family joked that I got, like, lost in the moment because we had a giveaway. And then I was like, look, I'm going to give away more things because, like, everyone's been super nice. But I feel like those, like, I love that like, there's this really cool, like, I don't know, like, one is, I guess, through the first part of, like, creating a space. But then you've seen all these people, like, I guess, make their own connections and do stuff. And it's just, like, don't ever feel like the work or the stuff that you're doing is like limited solely to you. It's like you might think it's really, and you know what? I'm not going to stand up. I can't be bothered. I'll show the quote on the back. But essentially, there's a quote on the back of my T-shirt which says it's Latin and it says "Sig Parvis Magna," which means like greatness from small beginnings. And like I say that's pick up. It's a pick up the mic like it basically describes pick up the mic, but also describes like something I'm trying to embody myself. That like. You might think that what you're doing is small, isn't important, it's insignificant, but like big things or like great things could come from it, and it's just by being okay that like your beginnings might be small, but then like you never know what could happen tomorrow or in a week or in a year, and that's why I always say like every year like people probably get annoyed that I say like pick up the mic exchange, like we're not this, we're not that, but yeah, it's nice because to me it's like every year we've grown and developed. So,
I love that, and that's what's important. You're developing, you're growing.
100%.
Yeah, I love that.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Great answer to that question, actually.
Thank you. I'm not gonna lie. I was like you said about waffling. I was like, I need to just like. There's a meme, if I can find it, I'll put it up. Of The Office where like Steve Carell's character Michael Scott basically says like sometimes he'll start something and never know where it ends. I'm not gonna lie. That's happened to me. I will say sometimes on the podcast.
Bro, all the time. Sometimes I start talking and I find my answer as I start talking.
As you said, 100%. I'm
professional waffler. Not everyone can do it. Some people waffle, and they never get to the point.
100%.
And do you know what? It's probably happened once, maybe here. But I feel like for the most part, if you start, like you'll find out.
But yeah, we're now going to go on to the MC of the month section, which is organisational, individual, that's relevant to the conversation. And we did have one. I'm not to say that they're like bad. But I do want to change it up. And you know what? I will shout out this person because I think it embodies what we were talking about like authenticity. Yeah. So if she sees this, if not, I'm gonna have to clip this and remind myself to like post this, but I would say shout out to Elise, who, as I mentioned before, she runs this initiative called the
Shout out Elise.
Yeah, shout out Elise. Like you, like if she sees this, like you do incredible work, and I feel like you're very much like she's like very much authentic in what she does, and I say she's got a vlog, and I've always been like umming and ahhing, like, do I want to do a vlog? Do I want it to be a part of Pick Up the Mic? Do I want it to be my own thing? Yeah. But she was just like, oh yeah, I started, and like I've told her, and like. I've mentioned it, like, so she was one of the people that was awarded, like, an award at our 4-year event. And I was like, look, like, you might think that, like, oh, I'm giving you all this advice maybe on, like, how to upload stuff to YouTube or business advice because I've been through it. I was like, look, you give me inspiration for YouTube because I'm not going to lie, I don't know everything about YouTube. But I see how she's, like, trialing things or she's, like, putting herself out there. She's, like, working with editing to make it, like, funny and, like, all of this stuff. And I was just like, wow, it's, like, it's such an inspiration to see someone who's, like, just authentically themselves. And like create all this like incredible content, and I think for me it's like that's what I like about like the fact that like with the 2 events that she's done. I don't think the same like group of people came to both of them. And I think for me it was like really impactful to see the difference. What kind
of events did she do?
So it was the vision boarding and the sip and paint.
Yeah, that's sick. That's a really cool idea.
And literally like I told her like. Actually, I don't know. I keep saying I told. If I haven't told you this, like
now you know.
Now you know. It's just like really cool because I feel like when you bring loads of different people to like I don't know when you do events and it's never the same group of people. That's almost showing that like your community is expanding. And like she again, like we were talking about, she studied anthropology. She's got a background in UX research. She's now working more in like a creative like industry role. And I was like, literally, like you then started this YouTube channel. You started this thing, and you're like. doing it. I was just like, literally, you've like grown a community and you don't have like experience in like, I don't know, community management. You're not necessarily someone with like marketing experience, all of this stuff. But I was like, you've created this amazing thing. And like, it's just really cool to see. So yeah, I would say like, MC of the month, Elise. I will tag all the stuff that Elise does. As I mentioned, she's doing a rebrand. So if by the time this episode goes out, I won't say the new name. So, or maybe I actually don't remember what it is off the top of my head. So I'm not even going to try and look it up. But yeah, if it has a new name, then we'll be sure to like tag them as well. But yeah, we've now come to the very final section before we wrap up, which is the takeaway section. I have also been joking about it. And you might be thinking, is Jeffrey about to say yes? No, I have completely forgotten every time before doing this episode, I need to reach out to a food sponsor. So I will be reaching out, and this is my promise that I have to do it, to either Uber Eats, Deliveroo, anyone who's interested in sponsoring our takeaway message. But yes, we don't give you takeaway food to go home with. We give you a nice message to focus on. So essentially, food for thought. Food for thought.
That's why I work in branding and marketing.
But Chinwe, it's been great speaking to you.
It's been so fun.
You've shared all kinds of like incredible advice, and I think there's a lot to take home. But if you had to summarize it in one message, what would it be?
I feel like I summarised it a bit early, and I forgot. So this summary may be a bit different, but I think it's along the same lines. Yeah. Can I give 3 takeaways that kind of somewhat are similar? Okay. Trust your gut. Your gut, your intuition, whatever you want to call it, like trust it. It's rarely ever wrong. It's basically never wrong. Be authentic to you in the way that you interact with people, in the work that you do, your interests, never fake it. Just think that never gets you anywhere. And yeah, just be a good person, man. Be kind. Yeah, I don't need to be the first person to say it. The world's kind of like an awful place at the moment, and there's a lot of pricks. And I think you can do a massive service to everyone by being a good person. So whether that's just like, again, just in the way that you talk to people, maybe you're doing some great stuff, some philanthropics, I don't know, whatever it is, just be a good person, be a kind person. I think those things get you quite far in life. And get you to a point where you feel like whatever you are doing feels right for you, and you're surrounded by great people. And that's a nice spot to be in. So 3 takeaways. Lucky. Lucky people.
Yeah, thank you. That's it. So we're officially at the end of the episode. Thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
No, you're very welcome.
It's a pleasure, honestly. It's been so lovely.
No, thank you. Honestly, it's yeah, like I said, I love doing this. It's been incredible to learn about your journey, your experience. How can people connect with you is the first question. If you have anything coming up that you want to spotlight or highlight, that's the second part. Yeah, those are the 2 main ones.
Well, my name will be somewhere. So you can find me on LinkedIn if you want to connect professionally. And I've always joked that recently I feel like I've spent more time on LinkedIn, which is really embarrassing because I'm actually only 25 and I should probably be on TikTok or something. Don't bother finding me on TikTok. Well, I mean, go on then. I've posted like 3 videos. I don't even remember my TikTok handle. Oh, Jesus. Don't find me on TikTok then, because I can't even find myself on there. On Instagram, do you know what? This is really ridiculous, because I've only made myself public like a week ago. But if you want to basically find me on LinkedIn. But my Instagram handle is like CVals, or like _CVals. So on there it's just like more personal stuff. We'll be posting more like music related stuff. Hopefully getting my first mix out soon. So if you guys are interested in my sound or hearing who I am as a DJ, I would definitely check myself out there. On TikTok, I don't remember my handle. That's okay. Maybe you'll find that through Instagram. I don't know. That's where you can find me.
And before we actually, sorry, one thing I forgot to ask. We were talking a lot about music. You have asked me, what would be one song?
Oh God.
That I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to keep
so
it.
hard.
I'm gonna have to keep it to one. That you would say, okay. I've got 2 ways this can go.
Okay.
It could either be one song that you, based on like, yeah, I'm gonna go with this one. One song based on the vibe of the episode, how you found the experience, that you would be like, this would be a song to like, for people based on how you found. That's okay. How you found the episode. This would be the song that you'd be like.
Is this the song that I would want to like outro me? Like,
yes.
Is this the, okay.
Yeah.
Guys, it might take a little bit of time. Couple seconds. Guys, it's just so
Do you
much
want me to give you?
Yeah.
Okay. So while Chinwe does that, I will do the outro. So if you if you like this episode, like, comment, subscribe, always appreciated. If you want to make sure that you don't miss any other episodes of the Student Guide or any of the other episodes on the Pick Up the Mic YouTube channel, please make sure that you click the notification bell at the bottom of the video. If you want to help support our services, receive cool merch like the t-shirt that I'm wearing, we also have a notepad, or you want to support our efforts because, as I mentioned, we want to do more events, more things with you, but also those things sometimes cost money. Then please do check out our Patreon or YouTube channel membership. You get early access to stuff. You will also be getting all the option to submit your own questions for some of the upcoming podcasts that we'll be doing this year, and for some of the podcasts that we're doing. We haven't forgotten all of them. I know for some they have had more episodes than others in recent months, but yes, we will be continuing that effort of adding more episodes. And then finally, if you want to make sure that you don't miss any other Pick Up the Mic content in a general sense, we have our anime, sci-fi and fantasy, and gaming channel. So head to the Pick Up the Mic YouTube page. If you scroll down past the For You section, you'll see all three there. I have mentioned the blog. I will not go into detail about the blog just yet because I need to figure out what I'm doing with it, but I've been encouraged to do it, so I will be doing it, and this is me basically saying that I have to do it now that I've said it to all of you guys. So, Sis, I want to hand over to you. What is the episode that you would... Unfortunately, YouTube will not let me actually do this.
That's so fun. Go listen to it.
Go listen to it.
I was thinking about this. I feel like this is a good full circle moment. I like cyclical things. I think it's always nice to end where you've started. And in the beginning, I spoke about a gig I played at for the first time. And I don't know if you, if not, take this as a recommendation, please go and listen to them. They're amazing. Brighter Days Family, making dance music that is like super positive, sunny, bright, great vibes music. It's called Bun It Down by Brighter Days Family. It actually has the vocals of Nia Archives on it, but she's just not on it as like a credited person, probably because she's signed to Island and all the logistics. It's amazing, it's great, it's a great feel-good tune, and I feel like as we're coming into summer, it's a vibe. So Bun It Down by Brighter Days Family. To be honest, every single song on that project is amazing, but that one's a personal favourite. And yeah, I feel like it's just a good place to end.
Perfect, cool. That's it. So we will close this chapter of the Student Guide. Thanks for being here, and we will see you all in the next episode where we bring a new guest speaker and a new topic, and we get to enjoy some fun stuff. So that's a bye from us here, and have a wonderful day. Okay, cool.